Welcome everyone to our initial technology showcase. I am Elise Keith. I'm co-founder of Lucid Meetings, and I'll be your host for today. And with me we're going to let them all introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Trisha Harris. I am the product evangelist here at Lucid Meetings, and I'm joining from Charleston, South Carolina in the US.
Welcome everybody, my name is Alexandre. I'm the co-founder of Storms, and I'm going to talk to you about facilitating collective intelligence sessions.
All right.
Hello everyone, this is Robert here. I'm a co-founder of SessionLab, and I'm waving to you from Stockholm, Sweden.
Hi everyone. I'm Nikki Hyder. I'm Director of Product Marketing at Voicera, and I'm joining everyone from Menlo Park, California, just south of San Francisco.
And I swear I have a thing to show you, Nikki's. There she is. Wonderful. So that's us. Now, what brings all of you here today? Well, we did ask you that in advance, and what we learned is that several of you are actually looking for something you can use in your work, and we'll definitely work to show you some of those things today. We have several of our friends joining us who are themselves technologists or analysts who are interested in what we're doing for research purposes, and a whole chunk of folks who are just curious, and that's great. We're happy to sate your curiosity. If you haven't already, go ahead and say hi in the chat. The chat will be open the whole time. Since I'm not going to show you anything, I will be chatting away with you, and you are welcome to interact as interactively as you'd like to do. What else do we know about you? Well, what do you already use today? It turns out that most of you use web conferencing and conference calls. That's what Zoom is. That's your Skype. That's all of those kinds of things. Video conferencing as well. Lots of pencils. Pencils are super helpful. But then when it gets into the kinds of services that our companies offer, meeting management, brainstorming, interactive whiteboards, transcription, there's not quite as much familiarity with that. So I think you'll all learn something new here today. And then finally, we asked you, well, what is it you'd really like to know? What would you like to see? And we got all kinds of answers. And here are some of them. You want to know how to make meetings more productive. You want to know how to help people's voices to be heard. This is not so much about whether the phone works. It's whether or not people have a say in that conversation. Engagement, connection. A couple of folks are literally looking for a way to record and transcribe the conversation. I think you'll like to see what Nikki has for that. Keeping meetings moving, focused, faster, short and achieving objectives, meetings that actually get something done. Again, transcribing notes. A way to run some of these more interactive events, the trainings and whatnot, where you don't have to travel. Like, how can you actually deliver your services as facilitators and coaches without having to get on a plane in a way that people can't afford? Again, cost is a theme that comes up over and over. And one of my favorites, markers that never run dry, the imaginary, wonderful virtual marker, giving you a feeling of virtual presence. So what does it mean to feel like you're part of that room? Hopefully we'll help you do some of that here today with our webinar too. Something that's easy to use that covers different kinds of meetings, that supports your ability to change direction on the fly. So you're in a conversation and you're like, okay, I need to shift it up. What do I do? Access, facilitating specifically strategic planning. That's got to be a really hot topic for a lot of us coming into the end of the year now. Some way to get everybody to pay attention, eyebrows raised, right, involved in your face. How do we do that? How do we capture ideas and then not have to type them up later after reading everybody's handwriting? This is one of my personal pet peeves with ideation as it's traditionally done. I hate typing up sticky notes. Happily, Storms can be used in a hybrid meeting or in a face-to-face meeting, and I'm sure we'll get to see some ideas about that. How to engage better virtually. And finally, to sum it all up, how do we make our meetings worthwhile? So lots and lots of things you're hoping to see. Everybody gets 10 minutes each. We'll see if we can make that go. Which really kind of begs the question, like, what is even happening here? Like, we as Lucid Meetings is a software company in part. But our mission is to help create better organizations through excellent meetings. Now, certainly part of how we do that is through selling software, which makes it kind of funny for us to say, hey, let's have a webinar that we're hosting with our audience that shows all of our potential customers a lot of software they might buy that they wouldn't buy from us. Why? Well, it's because in the pursuit of helping organizations run better meetings, we know that a meeting is not a meeting. There are actually 16 distinct types of business meetings every company needs to understand how to run, each of which have different requirements. So if we look very simply at the leadership meetings run that keep a group's strategy both formed and then executed on, you know, a common leadership meeting flow model will start with a strategic planning workshop, which then that strategy becomes something that that team will review every week and every day in their huddles and in their weekly team meetings. At times they will run into challenges where they'll find that that strategy isn't working. Something has changed in the environment. There's a new opportunity, there's a new crisis, and they'll need to make a decision using an effective decision-making process. And then to make sure that strategy continues to be relevant, they run yet another workshop on a regular basis to continue to keep that thing fresh. None of us here on this webinar today, nor anyone on the planet, has software that does all of these things excellently. So today, we want to share with you not only what we do at Lucid, but what some of these other folks do that helps make all of these things go. I personally have used all of these different tools, even though we have our own meeting software. I also clearly use Zoom. So bringing all of that to bear is something we want to be able to share. Quick bit of agenda keeping, the plan. There's a quick introduction. Hey, guess what? This is it. It's happening. It's almost done. Every presenter will have 10 minutes to present on each technology. And then we're going to leave lots of time for questions at the end. Now, if you have a question that comes up, please put it in the Q&A box. It's a little box at the bottom of your screen in Zoom. It says Q&A. And that way it'll be easier for us to find them and we'll answer them all at the end. All right. Housekeeping wise, chat is open, as we've mentioned. Again, questions in the question box. Yes, we're recording. We will send you all a link afterwards. And then my presenters, you each have 10 minutes, as you know, and you will get a 1-minute warning chime from me with the modern gavel when it's almost up. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Tricia.
Okay, well, before I share my screen, I have a couple of things I want to just talk about. Welcome, everyone. My name again is Tricia Harris, and glad you could make it today. I am the product evangelist here at Lucid Meetings and joining from Charleston, South Carolina, as I said. So I'm going to show you the Lucid Meetings software and how it connects all those dots that Elise was talking about when it comes to setting up, running, following up on meetings. And then I'll show you how we approach all of those tasks and decisions, maybe issues that we carry from meeting to meeting in between. But before we do that, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about Lucid. Our mission here is to provide software, just to augment what Elise said, and services that turn organizations with an underperforming meeting culture into organizations that actually leverage those meetings to their competitive advantage. Now, competitive advantage, why do I say that? What does that mean? Well, a lot of businesses actually do this today, and you may have heard of a few of them. Google, Amazon, and there's a highly successful investment firm that you may have heard of called Bridgewater Associates. For example, Bridgewater actually designs their meetings specifically for maximum return and impact, kind of like their investments. And their company leverages their meetings to just operate at the highest level. And because of all this, they actually manage $160 billion in investments today because they've been doing that for so long. So this meeting science thing is real, and we try to use it in everything that we do. Not everyone can learn all of that science, so we've built that design and structure into the software. And our we help our clients by helping them actually create what we call an operating system for their meetings. So what that means is that we create a structure for those organizations so that they can save time, keep everyone engaged, and then drive their top line performance, because that's what we see. So with that all said, let's jump into the software and take a look. Make sure I have the right thing to share. It looks like I have it right here. Okay, cool. Okay, so it looks like it's sharing now. Fantastic. So first thing I'd like to do when I come to work in the morning is to go to my dashboard. And that's within Lucid Meetings. It's my dashboard that has everything that I could possibly need. It has all of my meetings for the day, any action items that are due for that day. I can also access any of my action items at the top here. And I also can go over here to this guidance section, which actually will show me. I have meeting guides at my disposal, lots of different types of meetings, and I have agenda templates that I can go ahead and use and leverage just right off the bat. So those are there, and they're built into the software. I can also scroll a little bit to see more about what I've got going on today. I've got a leadership meeting. I've got some overdue action items. I have a few that are upcoming, so I better get to those action items because there are quite a few overdue. So next I'm going to take you to a meeting room, and I've called that meeting room the leadership team room. And with that, get around here, there we go. And that leadership team meets in what we call a room, and it's basically where I have all of the information for that team. So this is where all of my team's information is kept, whether it's all the people that are members of that team, all of our action items, and anyone that we've met with as well will be in here. So I've got an action items tab that I'll show you, and that tab will show me any of the action items of the people within that team. So you can see they're assigned to multiple people, and that's just for this team only. So each room has its own set of action items, and it's all captured in one place. I can also go over here to what we call our tag section and review all of our decisions or all of our issues, or maybe our parking lot items. This is the product of the meetings that we have already had. Now, if I don't remember what happened, or maybe I didn't attend a meeting and they made this decision that the spring fundraiser will be held somewhere, I can actually go over to the meeting itself and click on View Meeting and go see the context of that information. So context is really where it's at. So I can see where we might need to improve as well. If these decisions aren't getting made, I can come back and take a look. So before I start a meeting, I'm going to go back to my meetings tab and take a look at the meetings that are upcoming. I have one today, and I'm going to go ahead and click on that so we can see that meeting itself. And it's time to meet. So one thing I like to do is review the agenda ahead of time. You can see I already have a pre-formatted agenda here. I used one of our templates that was a leadership team template. And I can review it. I mean, this is great for the facilitator, but it's also great for the people who are going to be attending this meeting. They can come in and see what they're going to be responsible for in their meeting. Maybe they download a document, something there to just see how to prepare. So any of our outstanding commitments will also be in what we call a smart list. That's something that I've created for this meeting. It's actually in the template. And as a participant in this meeting, I can actually go and see, hey, are there any things that I didn't do over this past week? Yes, looks like there are a few things. Maybe I need to go and do those things before the meeting starts. So that preparation can help me before the meeting even begins. So then I'm just going to actually go ahead and start this meeting so that we can take a look and see how we get to all of those pieces I've been showing you. Okay, welcome. We're not going to join via audio because we're already here. And then, so now when we've started, the first thing you'll notice is that we have an agenda up top. And that agenda is going to guide me through the entire meeting. And it's actually going to keep everyone on task as well. It's a useful way to just keep everyone engaged and on the same topic at the same time, so we can all focus on the work at hand and then not, maybe be checking our email. It keeps people just really focused. So whether it's a decision we're making or an issue, it's just keeping us all on task. The other thing I mentioned was that action item review. Now this is pulled from previous meetings, or maybe we added some action items in between meetings. This is going to be anything that was from a previous time for everyone to just review and see, okay, did we do that? And maybe there was a barrier for someone and they didn't get it done. This is that place to actually talk through that and make sure that we actually get that done. So I'm going to advance the agenda. We can talk about announcements. The next thing I'm going to do is actually go to our victories, and then I'm going to take a couple notes. So I'm just going to add a quick note here just to say that maybe Fred met with a vendor. Whoops. How do I do that? That's me touching my mouse pad. I get that out of the way. Met with vendor. Let's just call it that. That's the note. So everyone can see it. That note is visible to everyone. You can see my name's beside it. It creates a level of agreement within the group when it's written right in front of you. So anyone can agree or disagree that this is correct. And this is that meeting science we were talking about. It's all built in. Best part, your notes are finished at the end. So once I have those notes done, they're finished at the end. I'm just going to add one action item and say, review case study. And that one I'm actually going to assign to me. Sounds like I have a minute left, so I better be quick. I'm actually going to assign a date as well to this action item. So that is assigning accountability within the meeting, and you all have seen where those action items end up. They will be in the email, and then the person who's responsible is going to check it off when they're done. So I'm actually just going to move this agenda all the way to the end, and then that way we can see, hey, we created an action item within our meeting. All of those will be listed here, and we can agree, yes, are we going to do that? Yes, we're going to do that. So let me get these things out of the way. I'm going to close this meeting out. All of the photos are in the way. Let me end the meeting and be done. All right, so there it is, folks. We've set up a meeting, we ran it, we know what to do when it ends, and all I have to do is say, was it a good use of my time? I'm going to skip that and send out the email, and I'm done. So that is Lucid in a nutshell. I went through it very fast. If you'd like to see more, please let me know. Please email us, and I'd be happy to show you around. So with that, I think we should go talk to Storm.
Thank you, Trisha. If you have questions for Trisha, go ahead and add them into the quick Q&A box, and we will catch those at the end. All right, Alexandra, you're up.
Well, thank you very much. Hello, everyone. I'm not going to share my screen just right now. So my name is Alexandre. I'm the co-founder of Storms, and I'm going to show you how you can use Storms to design and facilitate collective intelligence sessions. So before diving into the demo, I'd like to tell you my story, if I can. So it started in year 2000. And at that time, I was hired by 3M, you know, the inventors of these little sticky notes. And I was trained into creative problem solving. I was facilitating my meeting with it, and not only did CPS work wonders, but I loved it. So then something tragic happened. I got promoted. Oh my God, I had to handle more complex projects with bigger teams, and guess what? All these teams were scattered all across the world. And what previously worked with 4 participants stuffed into a tiny room, well, I wasn't able to replicate it with people in remote locations. So I was more experienced in the art of facilitation, and yet I couldn't get things done as I had done before. So, flash forward, in 2011, I met with François, who's my co-founder, and he was developing an amazing piece of real-time technology. And this technology, when you put it in front of my frustration, it created the opportunity to build the tool that I was missing, an application to design and facilitate brainstorming sessions with remote teams. So this is my story. This is how Storms was born. And if we flash forward again in 2018, after thousands of sessions that we've done with the tool, now we know that Storms is much more than just a brainstorming tool. It's a tool for strategic planning sessions, retrospectives, co-creation, design sprints, and stuff like that. And we know that a lot of facilitators are using it in small groups, in large groups, in-person gathering, remote gatherings, and they're using both synchronously with everybody there at the same time and asynchronously. And now we are seeing people mixing all these types of usage. You can do one part of your meeting synchronously, another part asynchronously to incubate and stuff like that. So this is where also the tool integrates very well with a tool such as Lucid Meeting, or also a tool for video conferencing like Zoom, because you can combine all of them to create the best possible meeting experience. So that's all for the story. Now I can see if I can master Zoom and find the share button. Oh my God, will I be able to do that? Yes, I think I can do that. Okay, so, and what I want to show you is, I want to start, Storms has a lot of features, so I cannot show you everything in the remaining 7 minutes. So I'm going to tell you a fiction story about a group of city designers, a community, citizens, all working together on one challenge. And the challenge is, how might we build the ideal city? So let's imagine that they have done that, and before showing you all the process that they are going to go through, I'm going to show you the final deliverable, the final outcome of the meeting. And here, you see that we have 4 solutions that have been developed by this team. And this is where Storms is not a sticky note application. These are cards, and they are much more than sticky notes. You see here, for example, that you have a photo of a prototype of one of these solutions, and these are developed solutions. Solutions with detail that are gone from seeds of idea to robust concepts. If you look here, for example, you see that you have a title, you see that you have a description, but when you click on this solution, you see that it has been developed using a framework that is called the GPS. What is good about this idea? What are the problems about it? What are the concerns? And you'll see also that they've done their job right, because they formulate all their problems as how-to questions. And then they have a step it up. They look at the good, they look at the problems, and they try to improve the solution to make it even bigger, even more robust, even more qualitative. And then if you look here, you see that these final solutions, they had the opportunity to evaluate the impact, the innovation level, and the feasibility of each one of these ideas. And this way, they were able, at the end of their session, it could have been a multi-day session, by the way, several real-time meetings, asynchronous times, but at the end, they can look at the bubble chart, and they would be able to see all these 4 solutions and compare the relative strength of each one of these ideas. For example, this one seems to be very interesting because it's both impactful and innovative. This one seems to be quite low in innovation, but then they can have a discussion and say, oh, how can we improve, again, this idea? How can we step it up to make it even more innovative? And we have plenty of fancy features that are very relevant. You can see there is a consensus in the room about this idea. For example, this one, you see that Alexandre disagrees with Zoe about the level of innovation. So this is why Storms is much more than a simple brainstorming tool. It's really something where you create seeds of ideas, you grow them, you develop them, you make them robust solutions, and at the end you have tools such as the multi-criteria evaluation to make decisions. Okay, let's have a look on how they did that. So everything starts with that, nothing. Well, not nothing exactly, because you had a facilitator who created this workshop, and he put the challenge on top of the workshop. How might we build our ideal city? And more than that, he built a detailed flow about the session. I'm not going to go into the detail, but you can either build your customized flow or use one of our 40 templates. And here, he made a choice. At this stage, he didn't want anyone to see the other's ideas. So I can add my idea. Very simple, add a card. And you see here, this is what we call seeds of an idea. And right now, I cannot see others' ideas because the facilitator doesn't want me to be influenced. Okay, next step. Oh, now we have plenty of seeds of ideas, but maybe we have too much. But this is where you would use the Insight Cloud. The Insight Cloud is the first way to explore and drill down a big amount of content. Oh, we see something interesting about children and playful and learning. Well, let's have a look at what is behind this word. And you click on the word, and there you see the ideas that are using the word. And here you can, the group was saying, oh, I think we have an interesting sub-challenge about how to make the city child-friendly. Okay, so they continue, and they decide to focus on child-friendly things, and now they can vote. And here the facilitator set up a $100 budget game. So I put $75 here to sponsor this idea, and then I can put another 25 on this one, and then in one single click I can display the results and show what all the people voted. And here we see that I wish children could learn music in the street, or I wish we could provide a legal alternative to children playing with fire hydrants. 2 votes on this one. And then, now we get to the most important point, and Zoom is getting in the way of my, okay. Ooh, Zoom is getting in the way. Okay, I'm gonna do, yeah.
Zoom is getting in your way and your time is almost up.
Yeah, so here, this is idea development. I still have 45 seconds. So we start with a seed of an idea. Then we use the sections to goods, problems, and step it up. And then we can reformulate the idea to make it a concept. And then we build a prototype and we add the prototype. So this is what Storms is all about. It's about developing robust solutions. And this way, this is where you get to the final result. We have already seen that. All the cards, all the ideas, and you know what? With just one click of a button, you export a Word document with everything, and you can also export an Excel with the detail of the voting. That's all. That's only the sign of Storms.
Very, very cool. I did not know you could click on the things in the Insight Cloud and actually see the cards. That's awesome.
Yeah, this is why it's not called a tag cloud, but an Insight Cloud.
Ah, very clever. All right, let's hear what Robert at SessionLab has to share.
Hello, everyone. This is Robert from SessionLab here. Let me also share my screen. So yeah, my name is Robert, and I'm one of the co-founders of SessionLab, an application to help people planning better meetings and better workshops. And the reason or the story why we came up with this application is that when we have been delivering training sessions, facilitating workshops, we got quite frustrated that it was such a cumbersome process, such frustrating to use Word and Excel and various other tools to design facilitation plans, to make timetables, agendas, and why there wasn't a simple tool that just helps you to really focus on the process that you want to design, on the process to really maximize that time you have with the people in that workshop room. So what SessionLab really is, it provides you an interface that keeps your focus on the process design. And it's used by people who design, let's say, half day, 1 day, or longer sessions, whether these are innovation workshops, training sessions, strategy workshops, design sprints, or team building events. It's used by facilitators, instructional designers, agile coaches. So it's for all type of workshops that are, let's say, rather complex and requires a plan how you go about them. Now I'll share my my other part of the screen where I will quickly show you how to use SessionLab to design a session. So I'll just switch here, and so I logged into SessionLab, and the cards you see here, these white cards, each of them represent one workshop or one meeting. And let's imagine that I'm getting the task that I need to design a day-long team building event for my team. So I'll just now browse around the templates we have in SessionLab, and here I'm seeing a team development day template. Let's see, what does it offer? Is that something that might be interesting for us or not? So I'm opening. This is the core of SessionLab, the actual session planner application that helps me to design a plan for my session. And each of these blocks are to be considered one module of my session. And if I like this as a starting point, I would say I'll go ahead and work with this. So I'm just creating my own copy of this template. So I won't start from an empty design, but I will take this as a starting point. And as you can see, each of these blocks here are one elements of my session. It's quite easy to move them around and iterate them. If I, for example, realize that after the introduction, I want to have a section to just really discuss the expectations, what my team members have about this session, I just added a new block. I'm assigning 15 minutes for it. And since it's a discussion type of session, I'm assigning a color code for it. This color coding helps me to make a balanced design, a balanced interaction of my session. In the end, just to make sure that people don't fall asleep during my session. And as I'm adjusting the time here, you see that the overall timing here is always kept up to date. My timing doesn't fall apart. I'm not surprised at the end that, oops, I miscalculated and I am 30 minutes over time, but I can always rely on this. The end result of this plan is just a step, hop one step ahead, is I can really easily print this out either in a PDF or in a Word format. And this is a plan that I might want to share with my colleagues or with my client that kind of communicates the plan that I have for the session. So let's hop back here to the actual planner tool. One of the unique features of this, that each of these blocks that I'm designing, for which I'm adding descriptions, all the detailed instructions that I might need to run this activity, materials that I might need, and files I want to attach. So whether I'm working out these blocks in the system, I can really easily reuse them later on. In fact, let's imagine that I'm designing this session and I figure out that I would like to use an energizer activity. So here, next in SessionLab, next to the session planner tool, there's also a library of workshop activities. It's a library with more than 500 public workshop activities. And if I'm looking for something, I just type in energizer. So I can pick an activity which might be interesting for me. I can check, is this the one I want to use, or maybe something else. Let me just show how this works now in a new session. So I also know that my colleagues are using the application, and I can search not only in this library of workshop activities, but also in any session that myself or my colleagues have been designing earlier. So I know that one of my colleagues is really experienced in delivering facilitation training, and I'm looking for an activity which relates to facilitation. So I'm just searching now not in the library of activities, but in other sessions that my colleagues have been creating. Easily I can see how these activities go, and if I want to use it, I can just simply drag and drop into my session plan. The same way, if I figure out that this might not be the thing that I want to use, but I don't yet want to delete it. I can just pull it aside to the parking lot, and this way my timing is again automatically updated. I mentioned previously the library, which is sort of a knowledge base. If I want to learn about new techniques and new methods about facilitation, I can come here, look for team building activities, energizers, idea generation activities, decision-making activities. Let's say I want to look for something in idea generation for my next session. So I'm just filtering out this category, and I can see a whole lot of activities that I can choose from. Again, detailed instructions how to run these. And if I feel like that this is something I want to use for my next session, I can add this to the current plan I'm working on. So the underlying idea is that both the content that I have created earlier and the public knowledge base really helps me to find the right activities, and the interface helps me to speed up my session design. SessionLab itself is a collaborative application, so I can invite my colleagues. We can work together on this real-time, multiple people, and I can share this easily. I already shown the option to export this into a PDF or a Word file if I want to share this with my client. But I can also just invite him to review the plan and let people provide comments on any of the activities I want. There are a couple of useful things, especially, for example, if I sometimes forget to prepare the right set of materials for my workshops. Since every block provides an opportunity to add what do I need for this activity, I get a nice handy list of activities. For example, I won't forget home the spaghettis for my marshmallow challenge activity for the workshop. So in a sense, these are the really core features of SessionLab. It allows me to design sessions and easily reuse activities from a library of facilitation activities and from any of the workshops that myself or my colleagues have been designing earlier. Thanks a lot for checking this. And if you have any questions further on, just let me know.
Fabulous. Excellent job keeping in time and a great thorough overview. And I believe that makes it Nikki's turn. So I know we do have at least a couple questions to answer at the end. So everybody if you have more that are coming up as you're watching all of this whirlwind stuff, please leave us some questions in the Q&A box. And with that, let's see what Nikki can show us about Voicera.
Perfect. I'm gonna launch my screen share as I'm talking. Hi everyone. So again, my name is Nikki Hyder. I am Director of Product Marketing at Voicera. I have a couple slides to just key up a little bit about our business, and then I'll jump into a demo because I think the product really speaks for itself. But copying Alexandra, I wanted to start with a story. So a bit about me and how I kind of landed at Voicera. I had worked previously with a number of our execs, including our CEO, Omar, at a company called BlueKai, which was in the ad tech space. But BlueKai was bought in 2014 by Oracle. So again, I had worked with Omar, our head of product, and our chief marketing officer there, and again, was very excited to work with this group again. But Omar's vision for Voicera, as his company BlueKai was acquired and brought into a large corporation such as Oracle, and he had a lot of meetings with like the Larry Ellisons of the world or Safra Catz, and something he identified both in meeting internally with execs, but also as he met with execs for partner companies, was that there was this common attribute among all of these really captivating executives and ones that kind of had a lasting impression, and that they were able to be truly present in a meeting. They were fully engaged, very engaged in the conversation, and not noticeably taking notes, but they never missed a follow-up or an action item. Granted, Larry Ellison, I'm sure, has a staff of people who are helping make sure that he has like a record of the meeting, notes are taken, and follow-ups are captured. But Omar's vision was to create a tool that would enable anyone within the enterprise and anyone within a working environment to have that same level of focus and attention, and to have a tool that would help them capture the moment, capture the highlights of the meeting, and have a record of like the follow-ups afterwards. So thus came about Voicera. So Voicera is a speech or voice AI company. We focus on speech to text. Again, I'll get into a demo to kind of show you how the product works. But our kind of core objective is to let everyone within a meeting be truly engaged by allowing you to focus on the conversation at hand. But also there's kind of an ancillary benefit where you can invite Eva, which is our bot, to a meeting that you're not able to attend. So if you have, and this happened to me at Oracle myself, where you're double booked, if you're not able to attend a meeting, there's still a record of the meeting and the action items coming out of that. So to focus in the meetings that you are in and to not fear missing out on any meetings you're unable to attend. So Voicera is a voice collaboration platform. Our product is EVA, which is an acronym that stands for Enterprise Voice Assistant. It is not male or female, it's the bot that comes to your meeting and helps transcribe the meeting notes. Again, as I mentioned, how we help users within the enterprise focus better. Eva will actually transcribe the meeting live for any meeting Eva's invited to, and actually extract important highlights or action items, which I'll touch on later. As I mentioned, you can invite Eva to a meeting that you're unable to attend, that maybe some of your team members are on, but you're double booked. And then another core aspect of what we're trying to solve is to take those meeting minutes and make them easy to push into other tools where you're collaborating actively with your team. So to extract the moments and make those actionable by making those connected to all the same collaboration tools you're using. Just a quick highlight before I jump into the demo. One thing that makes us kind of unique in our space, we can hook into essentially any type of meeting. So we want to be conference provider agnostic. We integrate with all of the main conference providers, so we can dial into a group conference call. We also are able to, you can bring Eva to a direct phone call. And this is a new feature that's available within our mobile application. And then for in-person meetings. So again, using our mobile app, you can kind of have your phone out on the table. And if you're having a kind of informal coffee meeting or a one-on-one with a team member, you can also use Eva in those meetings. And kind of a shoddy demo, I promise what I'll get to is a little bit more in depth or detailed, but if you can see my screen, and I think there's a glare, this just gives you an idea of like the mobile app. So if you were to use that, again, for an in-person meeting, just to give you a little visual, and now I will actually switch screens. So give me one moment, and I'll show you again, kind of live meeting environment. So hopefully you can see my screen. And this is the live view of our product. So I'm logged into app.voicera.com. This, as you can see as I'm talking, is showing the real-time transcript of this lovely webinar. So it's pulling in my voice and again, transcribing in real time. The core pieces of what you're seeing here, we again wanted to strip this down and make it fairly clean. We have the live streaming transcript on the left. And as I touched on earlier, but I'll dig a bit more into this, we don't want to just be a simple like transcription service. So we have an entire dedicated machine learning team that's focused on intent detection, and we're trying to extract the most important moments from your meeting. Our assumption is, you're busy, you spend quite a bit of time in meetings every day. You probably don't have hours to re-listen or reread through all of the transcripts from all of your meetings. So we, again, are actively trying to pull out the important action items, decisions, and any other important moments. So I'll kind of just scroll through this to give you an idea. You'll see there are quite a number of action items from Trisha's demo. So again, we're doing this based on using intent detection. There are a number of keywords and phrases, generally speaking, that we've found are indicative of an action item, a follow-up, or a decision. And we're listening for those. So those, again, will be like posted to the right-hand side of the live tap view for you to kind of reference. We also are looking for things that are indicative of a decision. So we have 4 categories of notes: action item, decision, and highlight. And then, again, we kind of generally speaking have keywords and phrases that we've trained Eva to listen to over time that we find, generally speaking, are indicative of an important moment. but that's fully customizable because we realize every individual industry, role, or business has, kind of their own kind of core focus areas. So fully customizable what Eva is listening to. You can see here that I have added some just for demo purposes over time, things like price, or we integrate with Slack. So that's those are just examples of certain keywords I've added. I can simply type something else here. So if I want to do challenge, I can add that. And then moving forward, Eva will actually listen for that and mark that as a note from any of my meetings. There's a slight delay, but you'll actually see here in near real time, because price was a custom keyword of mine, that was extracted as a highlight. You can also comment in this view, which you can post only for yourself or make visible to all the meeting attendees. And again, this is meant to show the live view. So how do we help, or how do we, pull these important moments out and help workers within the enterprise be more productive? So first and foremost, we will email you automatically all of the highlights from your meeting. But then you also have access to all of your past meetings, and you will have access to the full transcript within the UI. You can actually take a moment from your from the transcript and mark that as a highlight in the event Eva missed something. And you can actually listen to the audio playback from any important moment from your meeting. So I'll just pull up a meeting here and kind of show you what that view looks like. I do quite a number of demos, so there's a lot here. I'll pop into our weekly go-to-market meeting. But again, we default, and the default view we show are the highlights, because we think that that's the essence of your meeting and trying to provide a succinct digest, if you will, of your meeting. So you can see the highlights and decisions. This meeting is like an hour and a half every week, so there are quite a few. If I wanted to, so again, all of these highlights would be automatically emailed to me roughly 30 minutes following my meeting. But if I wanted to send a few specific highlights to someone on my team, and let's say we work together in Slack, I can select those specific highlights. I'm just gonna send them to myself for demo purposes. And in real time, I can pull up Slack. Hopefully this will show on the screen share. Are you able to see my Slack? Oh, hold on. I'll do the entire screen. Desktop. Okay. So now hopefully you can see my Slack, and you can see the format in which the highlights are shared. So this is the full meeting URL. If someone wanted to go back and listen to additional moments from the meeting, you can actually play that snippet or sound clip from the highlight, and the full text is pasted. You see some metadata on the event itself. And again, the goal is to really enable users to extract the important moments from their meeting and make that immediately actionable. I'll go back to the UI. And just a couple key call outs. So I went through kind of the live view, how you can engage with Eva and the highlights. A few other pieces to touch on. So I mentioned we interact with, or we can be pulled into conference calls, in-person meetings, and phone calls. We integrate with Office 365 and Google Calendars, or G Suite. So if you sync your calendar, which I have done here, I'll actually see on my upcoming view, these are meetings that are pulled in from my calendar. So we want to make it very easy to have Eva attend all of your team meetings, maybe all of your external client meetings, really whatever is important to you. So this is pulling in from my calendar, which I have synced. If I want to remove Eva from a meeting, I simply will toggle that green toggle off. So very easy to control that. But on the back end, Eva is able to read the meeting invite, and anything with a dial-in, Eva can figure out how to dial in and join. As I mentioned, we have the mobile app for in-person meetings. So you simply tap to record if you have our app on iOS or Android, and you would use the mobile app as well for a phone call. A few other pieces to touch on are, yeah.
You've hit just right at the end of your time. So I'm wondering if maybe we can wrap up real quick, and then there are a couple questions for you. So.
Oh, yes, of course. I'm so sorry I missed the chime. Yes, I'm almost done. I'll touch on 2 other pieces, and then I'll jump to questions. So one key piece that, just to kind of wrap up, this live transcript and the view you're seeing is powered by a single ASR, or automated speech recognition engine. One just important call out is, I mentioned there's a slight delay for emailing our users the highlights, and that's because we do reprocess all of the highlights, because anything that is, essentially the essence of your meeting, we want to make sure that we're doing additional error correction and filtering on top of that. So we actually have 5 ASR engines, 1 that's a publicly available ASR and 4 proprietary, and we reprocess all of the meeting highlights and/or transcript and send that to you for additional error correction. So I wanted to call that out. I think I've hit on almost everything. Again, it was a quick demo, but if anyone has questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to do a follow-up demo or answer any questions via email or chat. Sorry.
Fabulous. Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you so much for showing that. I'm pretty sure that's a tool most people haven't seen yet. So that makes it extra fun. We're going to switch into questions now, but I know some people are starting to get antsy about time. So before we go into questions, one question that we have for all of our folks here has to do with pricing. And then the other question that has come up is, as consultants, as coaches, as facilitators who are in positions to work with clients, how might they best work with us as vendors to recommend and potentially find ways to have a mutually beneficial relationship with all of these fabulous companies? And on both of those questions, both the pricing question and the kinds of relationships we have with our partners, those are lovely long conversations. Every one of us has some pricing information on our website, so we'll let you go ahead and check that out. But I'd like to go ahead and do a quick poll before we get into the other questions, which is follow-up preferences. For those of you who are interested in those kinds of things, how should we follow up with you? We don't want to bother you, and those of you who are registered, you will get the recording and information from Lucid, but nobody else here knows about you. So if you would like to talk with them, please let us know. And we'll go ahead and leave that open for a couple minutes. This is your opportunity to have a conversation with one of these lovely fellows or ladies about the wonderful future that awaits you and your team's meetings. Okay, so as we are wrapping that up, and of course I'm sure everybody will be happy to talk to you, even if you didn't indicate in this exact moment that you want to follow up. We all have websites, and we will definitely make sure you can find those if you're interested. Let's go ahead and look at some questions. So one of the first questions we have are for Voicera. Dave Scott wants to know if you're going to develop a product called Wally in the future to go with Eva. Yeah. And then specifically how you handle acronyms. So do both of.
Got it. Okay. Yes. So no plans on the roadmap to develop a Wally product, although I will relay that feedback because we do have a number of exciting releases coming out, and naming is always a challenge. So I will take that in the suggestion box. And then the question was around, sorry, not pricing.
Acronyms. Specialized language for specialized environments.
Yes. So Eva will learn over time. So there are 2 inputs that help improve what we call out of vocabulary words. So one, if you add something as a custom keyword and Eva will know to listen to that, that's helpful. The more meetings that you are in over time, Eva, so there are 2 components to the model, a language model and an acoustic model. Every voice sounds unique. So we'll learn kind of your language preferences over time. I didn't get to it, but there is the ability to make edits to highlights. So if you correct a word, that serves as a very valuable feedback loop. And Eva will again kind of adjust, and the model will adjust to the appropriate user over time and kind of fit better over time for each user.
And excellent, thank you. Dave wants us to also know that the Wall-E question was a joke. So you don't actually need to take that back to your product development team.
I assumed as much, but
all right. Question for Storms. We saw how Voicera can be used in an in-person meeting. She showed putting the phone on the table. How, with Storms, would you apply Storms in a hybrid situation where you've got some people who are logging in remotely and some people who are in the room? How do you get all of those ideas in there?
So if you have an hybrid situation, you need, first of all, some of the people to connect on a voice or video platform, so a communication platform. It could be the same as we are using right now, Zoom. And you would connect both the individual persons and the room with that. And then Storms act as the collaboration layer. So everyone will participate to the collaboration by adding cards, adding ideas, and then in real time it will show the ideas that are put by the other people. So you will have the opportunity to develop them, to vote on them, to add some documents to them. So really it's very easy to use it as a way to convey the idea, but you still need another piece of software to convey either the voice or the voice and the video of the participants. If you use it synchronously, of course.
Right. And now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember you have also a way, if everybody's in the room,
okay. Yeah, if everybody's in the room, but not hybrid session, everybody's in the room. The problem is we do a lot of sessions with 100, 200, even 1,000 participants doing strategic planning sessions all together. And the problem is that you should never trust the Wi-Fi of the venues, right? Because you will have some nightmare sessions if you do that. So one of my main principles is control the technology. So we bring the Wi-Fi, we bring the iPads, and we bring the software, of course. So we have something that is called the Starsbox, which is something that is, I don't have one right here, but you just plug it and 30 seconds later, you have a perfectly working Wi-Fi for your session.
Fabulous. Okay, so there's a question here for Eva, but I think it applies to all of us, and that is, what languages do you support? So why don't we start with Eva and then work our way through the crowd here.
We currently support English right now. So we moved out of beta into general availability in June. So as I mentioned, there's a lot of complexity in terms of marrying the language model with the acoustic model, getting different voices right. So we're focused on English right now, although there is the ability to define accents. So different dialects or accents to help, again, tune the ASR engine. So you can set your accent in the platform today. We are looking to expand to other languages. So kind of we'll prioritize based on demand. We were at a conference earlier this week, a New Japan Summit in Palo Alto, and there were some requests for supporting Japanese language, and we'll put that in our queue. So English right now.
Anyone else?
Well, yeah, so for Storms, so obviously it's easier. The interface can be available either in English, in French, of course, because we're a French company, in German, in Italian, in Spanish, and in Russian. And this is for the interface, but then you can write down your ideas in the language of your choice, of course.
Yeah.
As for SessionLab, the interface is in English, those few labels that you have on it, and otherwise the content you actually create in that is on your language. The library itself, which is a public library, that's primarily English content. So the workshop activities and the facilitation methods.
As for Lucid, we are available in the 6UN official languages: English, Chinese, Russian, French, Spanish, and Arabic. So the content, of course, will be written in your language, but that's like Robert said, the labels would be in your language.
And our guides are in English as well, because I don't write any of those other languages successfully at all. So yet, yes. I will pronounce your name correctly, though, at some future date. It will be very French, but not this date. I think this is not the one. So, all right. Let's see. We have just hit our time. Does anyone have a burning final question they must have answered that they can't wait for the follow-up? Going once? Going twice? Fabulous. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. I hope you have found this to be a useful hour. I would love to hear from everybody whether you think this was a worthwhile thing to do. It's a great experiment for all of us, and we would love to hear your feedback about whether we should ever do it again. And with that, we will send you on your fabulous, wonderful way. Have a lovely evening. Have a lovely morning. Be productive. Have some great meetings. And we will see you all another time. Say goodbye, everyone.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.